Welcome to the Resilient Retail Game Plan, a podcast for anyone wanting to start, grow or scale a profitable creative product business with me, Catherine Erdley. The Resilient Retail Game Plan is a podcast dedicated to one thing, breaking down the concepts and tools that I've gathered from 20 years in the retail industry and showing you how you can use them in your business. This is the real nuts and bolts of running a successful product business, broken down in an easy, accessible way. This is not a podcast about learning how to make your business look good. It's the tools and techniques that will make you and your business feel good. Confidently plan, launch and manage your products, and feel in control of your sales numbers and cash flow to help you build a resilient retail business. Welcome to the Resilient Retail Game Plan. This is Catherine Erdley, your host, as well as the founder of the Resilient Retail Club, which is my membership group and consultancy for product businesses. You can find out more at resilientretailclub.com. And if you go to the club page on my website and use the code 10podcast, that's 10podcast, you can get £10 off your first month as a club member. We would love to have you. Today's episode is all about the importance of Christmas events. So it's going to be going out the second week in November. So it's already started. I've seen so many Christmas events have already kicked off. But if you are somebody who attends events, either smaller scale ones such as craft fairs or local school fairs even at Christmas, or one of the larger ones, one of the big consumer events like Stylist Live or Country Living Fair or things like that, then the principles are really the same in terms of making the most of these events when it comes to sales. So the title of this podcast then is 4 Easy Ways to Maximize Your Sales for Small Businesses at Christmas Events. And it's really just an opportunity to think strategically about what happens when you go to an in-person event. I should really caveat all of this by starting off by saying that events don't always serve one single purpose. They aren't all about getting sales. If you've listened to me for a while, you'll know that I'm not really a fan of saying or talking about things that you do in your business that don't directly contribute to your sales. But I think sometimes with events, it's worth just keeping in mind that you do have to manage your expectations, especially if it's a new event or one that you've not been to before, or you just generally haven't done events that much. It may not necessarily be that it is a super big sales event for you, but it's really useful to focus on what else you can get out of it. So one of the key things that I often say to people about these events is that it's such a great opportunity to talk to your customers. It is a really fabulous way for you to understand what people are thinking about and also to understand what questions they might be asking you or thinking about when it comes to your products. When you see somebody on social media, sometimes they might ask you a question, but you very rarely get any kind of input when you're selling online. And you can't see what people are thinking about as they're browsing around. You can't see the questions that they have in their mind. Sure, some of them may message you, but most of them won't. So I think that the really valuable thing about an in-person event is, first and foremost, as an opportunity for you to see who your customer is, see the kind of person who likes your products, see what questions they're asking you. And I definitely recommend, if you possibly can, have a little notebook with you and write down any questions that people ask you, and then make sure that your product listings and your FAQs on your website and everything else all cover these questions, because they will be the ones that are in your customers' minds, but you just never hear them because they are thinking them while they're browsing on their phone or sitting in bed on their laptop or whatever they're doing when they're surfing your website. You're basically not hearing those questions, but you do hear them when you're in person. So that was a very long caveat or preamble, if you like, to say that, of course, events, you want them to drive you sales because they're a huge amount of work. They're very tiring. They're very time consuming. And you often have to pay, depends on the size of the event, a whole range of different prices to participate. So you absolutely do want to be focused in on sales. But it's just to really start you off by saying that don't forget about the other benefits of selling in person as well. With that said, let's run through the 4 points then. So point number 1, to maximize your sales ready for your Christmas events, is to set yourself a target. The reason I say that is because it helps really focus your mind, and it can help you stay motivated, committed all the way through those long days when you're on your feet and you really are feeling tired and exhausted, especially at the end of the day. If you set yourself a target, it also helps you start trying to gauge what you think a realistic expectation is for an event. And it helps you start to put together more information about your business that you can use to sort of check yourself against going forward and to do better forecasting and get a better sense of how much money you think these events can take. If you've never done an event before, or you're at a new event and you don't know what it's going to be like, I would just start with something that is extremely logical. And you're going to have to start with a set of assumptions. So your assumptions are just some things that you decide, a theory really, that you're going to test. For example, I'm at this event for 4 hours, or it's open for 4 hours. Let's assume I get one customer every 10 minutes and they're going to spend £30 on average. So therefore I'm going to get 6 customers an hour or 24 customers across the whole of the event. And therefore this is how much money I think I'm going to take. I would set yourself a goal that is based around something like that. Obviously, you're not going to get 10 customers an hour necessarily, and you're probably not going to get them 10 an hour every hour. You might get 30 during the rush and just a trickle at the slower times. But if you start putting together a sales plan that is based on something around these kind of metrics, then you've got something to measure the event against. You can see whether or not it was better or worse than you were expecting. You can also look at things like your average spend, which we will talk about in a little bit more detail. But it helps you really focus in on what is realistic when it comes to your event. So having a think about what you think is reasonable, how many people you think will be coming, how much money you think they will spend each time they come, and therefore you will be in a position to, at the end of the day, not just say, oh, I took X amount of money, but say, okay, well, this was better than I expected, not as good as I expected, to tally up how many sales you had and how much money you took and work out what your average spend was, and just keep working on tweaking it for your next event and your next event. And also make a note for each event that you have. If you go to a certain event each year, make sure that you make a note of how much money you take. So each year you can build a better forecast around how much money you think you're going to take at that event. And also just kind of start to build out an idea of what a good day looks like and what a not so good day looks like. And that can also really help you make decisions when somebody approaches you and says, well, I'm going to be doing this fair, and you think to yourself, well, do you know what? Even on a slow day, I take X amount of money, therefore definitely feels like it's worth my while. All really useful information to have. So definitely make sure that you set yourself a target before you go. And then it also just really helps motivate you. As I said, at the end of the day, when you really would like to sit down and not talk to anybody else, or you're cold and you've been there all day, then if you've got a sales target, it just gives you that bit of extra motivation to have those conversations with people, because it will 100% make a massive difference how you are at your stand. Yes, of course, the footfall at an event is really important. The fact that basically whether or not the event is your customer, then that's also really, really crucial. But ultimately, your demeanor, if you like, as a stall holder, as a participant at the event, will also make a big difference, and make sure that you're out there interacting with people. And again, if you've got that motivation in your head of a certain number that you want to hit, then that will only help you. Okay, so point number 2 of maximizing your sales at Christmas events is to really involve your existing community. So if you have got a social media community, email community, make sure that you are inviting them to your event, as well as benefiting from the footfall of people who are coming anyway. But you really want to do your best to push your existing customers or promote your attendance at an event to your existing customers, because the people who take the time to come and visit you at your event are definitely going to be your best kind of customers. And you want to make sure that you are encouraging them to come, because then they can meet you in person, and then they're much more likely to buy from you, frankly, than anybody else either. So it's a win-win situation. Make sure that you, in your plans, when you're getting ready to go to an event, that you are really focusing on how you can involve your existing community, and that you're talking about it. And also have a chat with the event organizers. Some event organizers are really open to doing collaborations when it comes to maybe shouting you out on social media. Maybe they would be very happy for you to do a reel to promote your attendance and share it on their account. Who knows? They may really appreciate you being proactive and approaching them. Have a look at how they've advertised previous events. Do they get the stall holders involved? Is it something that you could offer to do? And it's only going to help them, and it's only going to help you. On the flip side, then it's really about kind of maximizing your sales can mean a couple of different things. It can mean the pre-work, but it can also mean the post-work. And so the one thing, if you do nothing else, take nothing else away from this episode, I would love you to really put together a solid plan, if you don't have one already, of how you're going to get people's email addresses at an event. It is so, so crucial. Now, if you are a member, for example, of Pedal, which I've had Nikki from Pedal on the podcast before, she's runs an amazing organization. And one of the things that she's trying to do is trying to get more of that overlap between the people who come to an in-person market and then want to then shop with that brand later on. She's been doing lots about market listings, about QR codes so that stall holders can have QR codes to really connect with their online presence. But even if you're not a member of Pedal, I definitely think that getting savvy about how you can keep talking to those customers even after the event is really, really crucial, and it will help you maximize your sales, even if there are sales after the event. Even if you think about the event as a way of getting in front of your customers and then talking to them on an ongoing basis, even going beyond the sales that you make on the day. I think that's a really crucial point when it comes to these events. And I also think that with everything that's been happening with social media, we had, yet more glitches on Instagram last week, then it's very important for you to be building your email list. It's always important. It's even more important than ever. Your email list are the warmest part of your audience. They're the people who want to hear from you. And at the very least, if people aren't buying from you at an event, or even if they are, try and get their email list. Well, especially if they are buying from you at an event, try and get them on your email list. So think about what you can offer them. It could be a competition. It could be a chance to get a discount off a future purchase. But have a chat with them, think about it, brainstorm a little bit about what you're going to do to get people's email addresses, and also set yourself a target, because asking people for email addresses can feel awkward. Some people are not such fans of it, but set yourself a target that you want to hit and try and get a certain number of people's emails onto your email list. And that will definitely help you maximize your sales going forward, because these are the people who will be interested in buying from you in the future, and you want to be able to talk to them when they're ready to buy from you. Point number 3 about maximizing your sales is about your prep. So if you are a pro, if you've done a lot of these events, then you probably know what your kit is, what you need to bring with you. But if you are new to events, or you want a bit of a refresher, if you're a club member within the Resilient Retail Club under the Christmas 2022 section, which is stuffed full of all kinds of things from week by week planners to templates, we also do have a checklist for Christmas event prep. But suffice to say, as well as the concept that you want to have for the stand, make sure that you have got everything, that you've checked it all, that it's all been plugged in and charged. Make sure you have a little toolkit if something falls off, gets damaged. Make sure definitely that you have a bit of a cleaning kit so that if you need to wipe things off when you get there, then you can. And also think about yourself as well. Make sure that you have got adequate layers if you're going to be outside. Make sure that you've got a supply of hot drinks. All of these things that can together mean that you're more comfortable. And then if you're more comfortable, you're more likely to be selling as well. I also do suggest as well, maybe not quite going as far as role-playing scenarios, but maybe if that's something that you would be comfortable doing with a friend or a partner, then think about what you're going to say to your customers when they walk up to the stand. Even if you have a rotation of 3 or 4 different lines or questions that you can open with, that can also make a big difference when it comes to you feeling prepared, because it will make a difference to your sales. If you engage with people, then you will definitely be more likely to entice them to purchase from you, to try your products. I really strongly suggest that you get yourself a little script. I say script, but it could just be a post-it note with a couple of bullet points on. Make sure that you've just thought about what could you say to people. Do you want to try with a question? Do you want to lead with a question? Ask them how their Christmas shopping's going. Ask them what they think about the event so far. Ask them if they've ever heard of whatever it is that you're selling before. Just something to open a conversation, or start with an offer. Do they want to try a sample? Do they want to take a close look? Do you want to start off by telling them a little bit about you? What is it that you want to say as your opening line? And have a couple of different ones, or just try honing one to perfection and just practice it over and over, so that when you do get to an event and people do come, you don't feel completely tongue-tied and not sure what to say. So I strongly suggest doing your prep, making sure that you've really thought about what you're going to be saying, what you're going to be wearing, what you're going to bring with you, what you are going to offer in terms of the display. And if you do want to do any special event pricing or anything like that, I'll talk about a little bit more about that in a minute. But just really getting everything as smooth as possible before the day so that you can focus on what you're here to do, which is to sell. I should also say as well that another big benefit of setting yourself a sales target, is it really helps with your stock planning as well. So in terms of knowing what to bring with you on the day, then if you've done that sales planning piece, then that can be really helpful as well, because you can map out a sales goal based on something really logical, and then you can work that back to say, right, well, if it's going to be busy, I'm going to sell 60 items. What do I need to bring with me? Well, I don't particularly want to have an empty stand at the end of the day. That might not look too appealing. So maybe I want to have 20% of stock left at the end of the day. So I'm not, and also to allow in case my forecast was wrong and I sell more than I thought I was going to. So you can map it through. But then equally, if you think to yourself, oh, this one isn't super busy, it can help you avoid overpacking your stock as well, or having to take too much stuff and then having to haul it all back. So having a sales plan really, really helps with having a stock plan as well, which is another big piece of the planning. Then the fourth point I wanted to make about maximising sales at Christmas events is about your average spend. Now, this is a topic that I've been talking about a lot this year in particular, because I do think it's an opportunity for a lot of small businesses to look at ways that they can have each customer spend more with them. I do have a talk coming up on the 16th of November, maximising your spend at Christmas. If you go to resilientretailclub.com/Christmas, you can sign up, and I'm going to be talking you through some ways to create win-win-win situations. When I talk about maximising spend, this is not about, I've said this before, but it's not about being manipulative. It's not about trying to trick your customers. It's actually about creating really positive situations which feel good for them and feel good for you, and everybody benefits from. But it's definitely something to think about when it comes to getting ready for events, because you want to make sure that you have thought about the ways that your customer might purchase from you, and if there are ways to encourage them to purchase more. So, for example, it could be, I touched earlier about this idea of special pricing for an event. It could be that you do offer special pricing, but it's only if they buy, say, 5 items, 6 items, who knows? Don't feel like you have to give away special pricing on a single item if actually what you really want to do is encourage people to spend a bit more. You could have a gift with purchase. They could get a lovely tote bag if they spent a certain amount of money, if that was something that you had readily available. You could offer gift packs or gift bundles, as I call them, the gift boxes, so that if they just want to pick up something for a higher price point, they can easily do so without having to put a gift together themselves. They can just see it and they can take it, and that is that. That is definitely something to be thinking about. And that's also where it's really helpful if you're tracking your figures, because what you want to do is try a few different things. Try some multi-buy offers, try some gift bundles, try some packs where sometimes people just want to buy the same thing for everybody. They'll be like, oh, there's a lovely pair of socks. I'm just going to buy one pair of socks for all of the people on my Christmas list, or all of the people that I would buy like a small gift for at Christmas. There are definitely ways of incentivizing that and making it clear that that's something that you can do, and that they get a bit of a deal if they buy from you that way. But if you keep an eye on your sales targets, if you keep an eye on your average spend per customer, then you can play around with different things, and you can see if a certain tactic has worked. You can see, oh, at this event I offered a multi-buy and that was really popular, really successful. And you could say, right, well, actually at this one, I tried out these bundles and they worked really well, but that one didn't work so well. At this one, I did a free gift over £50 and that didn't really seem to have an impact on my average spend. Lots of different things that could happen. But if you're trying different things and you're measuring it, which is really just a question of taking the total sales that you take per event and dividing it by the number of people who bought from you, then you should be able to work out what the average spend is. Some of the payment devices that you take will tell you that. They'll just tell you how much it was and how many transactions that was across. If you just end up with getting one lump sum, some of them will just literally tell you how much you took on that day. We'll make sure that you've got a little tally chart where you just make a pencil mark every time somebody, or a tick every time somebody buys from you. So at the end of the day, you can say, right, I took £200 and that was across 10 people. Okay, so that's a £20 average spend. It doesn't have to be super sophisticated. There will be a way of you to get your hands on that information, but keep thinking about the ways that you can drive up your average spend. Okay, so there you have it. 4 easy ways to maximize your sales at Christmas events. Number 1, set yourself a sales target. Number 2, really, really focus on your customers, bringing the ones who you already have to the event, and then also trying to make those connections with the people who are at the event for future purchasing. Do your preparation, including planning out your stock as well as everything else that you need to think about. And if you're a member, go check out in the Christmas 2022 section in the course portal. Make sure you get your Christmas event checklist. And then number 4, maximising your spend as a way of growing your overall sales and playing around with different ways of doing that. And if you want to know more on that topic, then head over to resilientretailclub.com/Christmas and you will be able to hear all about it and ways that you can create those win-win-win situations for you and your customer. Thank you so much for listening. If you have a moment to rate and review the podcast, then it always means so much to me when you do so. You can rate it in iTunes or in the Spotify app. And equally, if you have a moment to follow or subscribe, then you'll be the first to know about the new podcast when it comes out every Thursday. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, then I invite you to check out resilientretailclub.com. The Resilient Retail Club is the membership for anyone wanting to start, grow, or scale a profitable product business. No more trawling Google trying to find the answers to your questions or wading through general business advice that speaks mainly to service-based businesses. Whether you're still at the idea stage or you've been going for a while but want to get more focused and organised when it comes to your business, the Resilient Retail Club is the place for you. With a library of courses tailored to creative product businesses, several live sessions a month, and a supportive and active community, the Resilient Retail Club is the perfect membership to help you hit your goals faster. Check it out at resilientretailclub.com.